Life Audio.
This is not the dream. Surely you have something else in store for me. Surely you've put something inside of me that is different from what I'm experiencing. And that was where I was at.
Over 20 million fans have made Trans-Siberian Orchestra their holiday tradition. Bring the whole family and make it part of yours. The Lost Christmas Eve live in concert. Don't miss the all-new show. Coming to a city near you. Go to tsotickets.com for info. The return of Trans-Siberian Orchestras. The Lost Christmas Eve.
Streaming now on Fox Nation, God, Family, Football.
As a head football coach, my job is to teach these boys to worship is what it means to win.
A new series that follows a small-town football team.
My little brother was diagnosed with leukemia. It just pushes me to be stronger.
With a big-time heart.
I always do trust in God.
Go inside their lives and follow their faith.
Everybody needs help tackling life.
God, Family, Football. A new series streaming now. Part of Fox Faith on Fox Nation. Sign up at foxnation.com.
Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be. Hello, Encouragers. Today's podcast is brought to you by Just Thrive Probiotics, my go-to supplement to feel more energized and lighter. I also love the Just Thrive Calm supplement to keep my thoughts from spinning and to keep them more focused and in the moment. Use code Encourager to get 15% off by going to justthrive.com. Okay, you guys, on today's episode, we are speaking with Melissa Hughes on some subjects that we're going to use a little freedom to bounce around a little bit today because her story is huge, but it's still interwoven. And this is something that my team and I talk about frequently, is that God never wastes any experience or anything where you're like, I cannot believe I am doing this job and it seems like mundane or boring or whatever. I can't believe I'm serving or volunteering and doing whatever it is. And then later God interweaves it and you're able to use it, right? He's not wasting any of your journey, no matter if it was your own choices or part of his choices. So without further ado, welcome Melissa Hughes, a wife, mother, speaker, author, and a TikTok famer is what I'm going to call it. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Rebecca.
Yes, so I led with the TikTok thing. You have to tell us a little bit about this because it's what launched your current business.
Yes. Yeah. My husband and I, we came from a ministry background. We church planted in the UK for 4 years. We literally lived in a valley on a cemetery after my husband had gotten into a horrible car accident. And that was our time there. And my whole heart during that time was, man, like, how can we evangelize? How can we tell people about Jesus? Like, we've just moved across the world to get the message out there. And here we are living in a valley on a cemetery. And I felt like God had tied our hands behind our back. And I don't know if any of your listeners have ever gone through a time where you are flexing your biggest faith muscle and it feels like you're producing a raisin and you're expecting a vineyard. And that was that season for us. And we moved home and really defeated, very discouraged. Obviously, we didn't say that,
right?
Which everything is usable and everything that we planted is bearing fruit. But in ourselves, it wasn't what we had expected. And when we moved home, we had to get a house, get a car, get jobs, get forks, get a couch. And my husband said to me, babe, you need to get a job. And I was devastated. We had 2 children and I just wanted to be with my kids. And so it was COVID and the only job that I could get was childcare. So imagine, Rebecca, you have this desire to be with your children, but every single day you have to go and drop your kids off at one end of the building and then go and look after somebody else's.
No.
And I was like, this is not the dream. I don't know if, again, anyone's listening and they're in a space and they're just saying, God, this is not the dream. Surely you have something else in store for me. Surely you've put something inside of me that is different from what I'm experiencing. And that was where I was at. And there's a whole story in there, but eventually I felt like God one day asked me when I was in the middle of saying, God, what's your plan for my life? what should I do? He said to me, what do you want to do?
Mm. Mm.
And I was like, oh, I mean, I feel that feels a bit weird, like, I mean, aren't I supposed to serve you? And I felt what I said was, God, this is really embarrassing, but, I'm looking on Indeed at all these jobs, business admin qualification, don't have that, admin skills, don't have that. I just felt unqualified. And I said, God, I feel like the only thing I'm genuinely good at is talking. That's it. That's all I've got. All I can do is talk. So if I could just have a job where I could do that, that would be great. And I felt about a month later, he started speaking to me about posting videos online. Very random, very out of left field. Never really did that kind of thing. And so I told my husband about it. He said, what would you say? I said, I don't even know. He said, well, let's pray that if it's God, he would just make it clear. And 5 days later, I uploaded a video on an app I'd kind of heard of called TikTok. The same day I downloaded it was the same day I decided to posted a video. And the next morning I woke up and that video had generated 22 million views. I ended up on the Kelly Clarkson show, and God took me into this whole sphere of entrepreneurship, content creation, and helping women build their personal brands so that by getting them seen, known, and heard, we can help people make Jesus seen, known, and heard.
I love it. But seriously, though, you guys pull out the little nuggets in there. It's so relatable. It's so relatable. And I really hope you do pause if you're listening at that thing is if you're doing a job that you're like, gosh, I just dropped my kids off here and I don't want to be here. And it feels messy, or maybe it feels incongruent, or maybe it just feels like a pull and a tug, to just sit with that and take the advice from Melissa of like sitting in prayer with it. But it is interesting, the timing of this. 5 days later, you tell your husband, you're like, I think I'm supposed to post videos. And then 5 days later, you download TikTok app the same day. You told me in the pre-interview, you uploaded the first video on your camera roll. Like it wasn't even like, okay, let me pre-select what I want, to put out there. I don't know if that's God or what that has to be. And then end up going viral. So after this video goes viral and you get on the Kelly Clarkson show and you go, oh, okay, what do I do with this? How did the messaging come so quickly that you knew that talking was a gift, but how did you move so quickly to like, well, I'm going to use talking to show everybody about him? And how do you make a business out of that? How did you know to do that?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, I feel like God, I don't know if you find this, but it's like God only gives us the next step. And the only next step I had was, okay, this video went viral. I guess I should do something. And I did not know what I was doing. I still had the job in childcare. That video going viral didn't bring millions of money into my bank account. I'm still in the same situation. Now I just have this thing happen. And so I just went with the word. I went with the door that God opened, and I was like, I'm going to steward this sucker. So on my lunch break at my job in childcare, I would record videos in my car and post them. And I had an hour. And so I'm in my car creating content, looking like a fool. But I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to do this. So I just started posting 3 times a week. Super cringy, feeling really awkward, very weird, massive imposter syndrome, all the things. Feeling like, man, people are judging me because they think now that I've had this video go viral, now they think, just all the thoughts, literally all the thoughts and feelings. Who am I? Why should I even be doing this? That was like really difficult to overcome those feelings. In the midst of that, though, I grew an account to 250,000 moms because I just started talking about something that I knew, which was motherhood. And I have this whole story about motherhood, how I never wanted to be a mom, and God helped me overcome that fear. So I just started sharing my story, sharing my journey, talking about things that I knew. And I had no idea that it would help people and that people would resonate. And women were really finding healing from a lot of the things that I was sharing about my own story. And then there came a point where someone said to me, Melissa, why don't you launch a business around this? And I was like, no way someone would actually pay me to help them do this. How much money do you have to make to go out on your own, was what they told me. I said, well, I'm working 40 hours a week in childcare. I make about $2,000 a month, and I probably need about $500 more to cover health insurance. So he said, so you need $2,500 a month just to match it. I said, yeah. He went to his buddy who had a business, who needed support around marketing. He says, so I have this friend, Melissa, she's a social media expert and she's a consultant, and she charges $2,500 a month to help you with your social media. Would you hire her? He didn't even tell me this. The guy says yes. He comes back to me. He says, hey, I got you your first client. You can quit your job now. And I was like, you did what? I was so petrified. I was like, I am not an expert. He's like, Melissa, you grew an account. You did this. So here's the actionable item. Guys, you have results and things that you are very good at, that people that don't know what you do, whether it's cooking sourdough, making purses, all the things, we downplay our gifts so much because they're so natural. They're so easy for us. And a lot of us come from a ministry background. A lot of us have this heart for God that we do all this for free. And then to think to charge would be satanic.
Right.
And so I had all these feelings. And so I get this client and I quit my job and I went with it. And then God brought somebody else. And I just did my best every single time. I try to do my best stewarding the little bit that he would give me. And he has multiplied it and grown it. And now I have a team. The business has grown. I feel like I have more clarity and confidence in what I'm doing.
Sure. So the job that you ended up going into, your first client is social media, is you actually are an expert at personal branding.
Yes.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, and I know bits and pieces of it, tell me what personal branding is.
Okay. So what people would say if you Google it, it's personal branding is essentially your reputation that's digitized, right? That's what they would say. But here's the truth, Rebecca. As believers, God has a name for all of his children. He calls us something. He looks at us and he sees something. When he looked at Moses, he saw a leader that would take people out of captivity. Moses saw a man with a stutter, right? And so what I do is I help people find out what God says about them. And then we craft their message around their story. And then we help make them feel seen, known, and heard by God, right? Because you have to know that you're seen, known, and heard by God first. Otherwise, it's all going to be performance. But you're seen, known, and heard and loved by God. And from that place of resting in your identity, knowing who you are, you from there put a message into the world that's going to help set the captives free. That is what personal branding is to me. And that's through podcasting. That's through writing a book. That's through creating content and getting a message out there. And I am fired up about it, Rebecca. And I'm tired of Christians playing small.
So many of us believe in something far beyond ourselves. And now there's a special place for us. Fox Faith on Fox Nation. With exclusive original premium content that lifts us up, sustains our spirit, and fills us up with hope. Now you can stream hours and hours of commercial-free, faith-based content anytime, anywhere. With exciting series like God Family Football, about a coach, a team, and their faith. And streaming November 17th, Martin Scorsese presents The Saints, one of America's greatest storytellers, recreates the lives of Joan of Arc, Maximilian Kolbe, Sebastian, and John the Baptist. Before they were saints, they were people. Then, streaming December 8th, Jesus Crown of Thorns, a new epic original docudrama series. They fought for his power, he conquered with love. You know his story, but not like this. Fox Faith is only available by subscribing to Fox Nation. So go to foxnation.com and sign up today.
Do you ever notice that even when your body is not moving, your mind is still racing? Worries, to-do lists, and a spiral of negative thought patterns often keep us from the stillness and deep peace we long for. In her new book, Present in Prayer, Jennifer Tucker invites you to quiet the noise around you and within you as you allow the Holy Spirit to speak through God's Word, and to renew your mind through the practice of Christian meditation. Inside, you'll find 30 beautifully illustrated meditations that call you to silence, prayer, and thoughtful reflection on a passage of Scripture. This practice will help cultivate a rhythm of being still and casting your mind on what is lovely, pure, excellent, and true. This book makes a beautiful gift or an uplifting resource to read through in your own quiet time. Present in Prayer is now available on Amazon and wherever you buy books.
Yes, and I think we're in such a good phase for all of us to just go forth more boldly, because I was telling Melissa in the pre-interview chat here, sometimes you guys, personal branding has a bad taste to it because it does feel performance-based. And it's about vanity metrics, about like, well, I have this many followers and I do this and this, and all of us are going, how do you make a living at just trying out a lip gloss, or whatever it might be. So I do love that you are putting, I would not say a spin, because you're very intentional about putting a kingdom perspective on it, is what has God individually gifted you at. And like you said, those of you listening, you may not recognize it. It comes so naturally for you to meal plan for yourself and for your neighbors and for the people at church that you're like, wow, I just do it. That is a gift and a skill. So if we have people out there, Melissa, that are going, let me think about this. What are some steps we could do to start thinking, wait, what is it that God has called me to? Or what are the things that I could put out there? How do we start?
Yeah, it's such an interesting journey, because I have such an intimate relationship with the Lord. But when he asked me that question, what do you want? I realized, Rebecca, I was very disconnected with myself. I mean, to the point where my husband would say, hey, where do you want to go for dinner? And I go, wherever you want to go. Like, well, like, where do you want to go? I'd be like, and I truly couldn't answer that question. I think for Christian women that are such servant-hearted people, that have such a good heart, which I'm sure is your audience, because that's who you are. Sometimes I think we really do. It's not even losing ourselves in motherhood, but we just never go on this journey of getting to know who God has created us to be, which is such a disservice to the world, because we are meant, right, the Great Commission to go forth and make disciples of all nations. Well, what are you discipling people in? What's your message? Who are you? If you don't know who you are and your gifts and your skills and your talents, and also what you're terrible at, what people should not come to you for, if you don't know those things, how can you be effective in helping advance the gospel? Because you're just sitting back in your chair going, what should I do with my life, God? And what I really want to help people do, so the actionable item is where I started, was someone encouraged me to make a list of 100 things that I loved to do. And that was things that just got me excited. And I've had women do this exercise, and they'll get to like 30 things, and then they can't go any further. And it's like, why can't you go any further? It's because we've gotten over all the surfacey things that we think we should write down. And what starts to happen past 30 is it starts to be like, you know what? I want to launch a school. You know what? I actually have this passion that I want to take purses and I want to launch a global brand where I help women feel excited about their clothes. Something that seems so vain, but like they're being clothed in their identity in God. And you start to get real deep with who you are, and you start to go on this journey of discovering who God has made you to be. And it's fantastic and also scary as anything at the same time.
Oh, that is so good. I also love the permission of, like, we said 100. So sit down, block out the time. I'm big about telling people, like, block out the time. Like, this is going to be a time when you're like, nope, I'm doing the assignment from the Encourager with Melissa. Okay, guys? So you're going to do that. And then the second part of that is you got to go past 30, because I am such a like boom, 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 that I know I'd stop at 32. So it's interesting that you get the meat of it and the more passionate, bigger vision things past 30. So keep that in mind too, you guys. I want you to circle the number 30 when you get there, and then keep digging deep. This will be super fun too for us, you guys. Let's use both our Instagram and our Facebook communities to talk about our list. Now, if you don't want to share your list, I get that. But talk about what the feelings were at the number 30 and those afterwards, because we could open up some huge things for you guys. Because I think also, man, everything before 30 is the surface things. It's the things we've already experienced. It's the things that we already have a little bit of like, okay, we've done that before. And past 30, the things we're afraid to even admit to ourselves that we are passionate about. And the things, like you said, Moses stuttering, He literally hid. He had to put a, I always think like, I'm like Moses. I need a burning bush. Otherwise I'm going to miss it. Like, God, give me a 2x4 and a neon sign.
Yeah.
If you think whispering is going to, and he already knows that. He knows that Becca needs a 2x4 and a burning bush. But that is so practical. So if we make this list, Melissa, what would step number 2 be?
Okay, so step number 2. So I want to also say in this list, because people are like, 30 things I love. That in that list can be 30 things you love to have, or sorry, not 30, 100. Love to have, do, experience, be, right? So make that list. But the next step would really also being very honest with what you're not good at.
Okay.
Right? And you start to just take an inventory of, and you'll know the things that you're not good at because they drain you. Okay. But starting to take a list, make a list and an inventory of just who you are. Like, this is what excites me. This is what drains my energy. This is what brings me life. Like, this right here does, like, talking, it brings so much life to me. And it's because I love to do it. So I try to stack my time in my day around it. And like content, like, I mean, people hate social media. I love it. You want to know why? Because it's like that platform, like for years, people are like, how can we evangelize? How can we get people in the door? How can we tell people about Jesus? Hello, God's literally stuck a megaphone in our back pocket. And all of us are sitting in church like, what event could we put on? What if you just used your mouth, got on social media and started sharing your story, sharing about what God's done for you? We can fund the mission that God has ordained us to go on because we are anointed to do it.
Yeah, so good. I'm recalling so many things too. Also, just to remind you that everybody's story is unique, even though we are bombarded by everybody's story and thinking, oh yeah, mine is similar, including like Melissa and I both being Christians and entrepreneurism. I'm still like, wow, the intricacies of what he creates in each one of you. So as you're listening to this, you guys, it hasn't been done. Whatever it is that you're uniquely planned, even the things that you don't like, that has not been done. And someone out there needs to be encouraged by what you are putting out there. If there was a third step, what would that be? There's got to be some practical things here too. So actually, you've given us all practical. We're going to make the list of 100. We're not going to stop at 30. We're going to start making a list of the things that we're not good at. And this is difficult for all of us to admit, but we're talking about what are the things that drain you. And then when you said that part, I'm like, oh, I can list those in a New York minute, right? And you also said arranging your day so that you're doing the things that are within your strength. How do you get to the business side of things and going, okay, well, how do I start implementing it?
I would honestly say this is going to be so simple. It's so simple that when I look back on my journey, so many things I didn't know how to do. Do you want to know how I figured out how to do them? I found someone that was doing what I wanted to do, and I asked them. And sometimes it was, hey, could I just, could I grab a coffee and in exchange, like, I'd love to, like, I noticed that your social media, you're not, like, I would love to help you, or I have some tips I can, like, how can you add value to someone, but truly just being an asshole?
Okay.
if you want to do something, find someone who's doing it and get time with them and ask them, hey, like, what you're doing, it gets me really excited and I would love to do that. How did you get started? Or how did you figure this thing out? And what's wild is people love to share. And I truly believe there's probably like 30 people listening on your audience right now that they are just one ask away from a major breakthrough in their life because they haven't even thought, oh, I guess I could just send an email or send a text or ask for the phone conversation. And it's the one thing that you need that's going to be the massive breakthrough.
And I talk frequently about the rule of 1%, and all I can think is this is 1%ing it, you guys. She said it's just one email. It might be one text message. It might be one direct message or whatever that says like, hey, can I, being an ask hole, can we meet together? But then also making sure you add value to them too. Like you're paying for the coffee. Everybody knows this out there, but in case you don't, like, you pay for the coffee or you invite them and then afterwards you give them some sort of value in return. It's so much simpler than we make it. Melissa, in our journey of doing our list and kind of finding someone who's in our field that we are liking, how do we still like practically pray? Like, I would love if you could give us the questions to ask God as we keep pursuing this.
I want to encourage your listeners to take time and ask the Lord. And it might not come when you've got your Bible open and your candle going and your hot coffee, right?
Right?
It might
Yes.
come when you're driving down the street and you see a billboard that says, you're about to fly, and it's got an airplane going off in the distance, and God's speaking to you about how he's about to take you off on an adventure and that you're an adventurer, right? And he loves that about you. Like, however God uniquely speaks to you, be open. But I want to encourage your listeners to start asking God, what do you call me? What do you think about me? And then aligning your thoughts with that. And to me, that is the start of personal branding, because it's getting very clear about who you are.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for being so practical with those questions. I've had, in all honesty and vulnerability, and I've said this several times on the podcast too, is that I believe he calls me kiddo in the most intimate moments. I think he sees me as my first grade self. So I would be my nickname, Becca. And he frequently calls me kiddo, like kiddo. And I think he gets the giggles. And as of like the last 5 years or so, I hear Jesus laughing alongside me with the things that I think are humorous, that not my whole family does, but somehow I see the humor in it. I think he laughs with me. And so if you can get the time, and like Melissa said, you guys, please do not perfect this. Please do not make it that you have the right fall candle going and the blanket and the cozy cup of whatever. Like, it may happen in the after school pickup. Like, it could happen anywhere, but just continuing to reflect on those two questions is, God, what do you think about me? And what do you call me? And that will create an even deeper relationship with your maker so that you can pursue the things that he has in store for you. And a lot of it, like Melissa pointed out in the beginning here, is not things that we will feel well equipped to do yet. We'll have some of the skills where we're like, oh, really? I've got to keep recording this. But then you get into it, like Melissa said, after practice and stuff, felt cringy at first, but then just moving into it because she knew more and more and more of her experiences and who she was and who she identified with, that it came more naturally and people responded to it. And that's how it can keep moving forward. I think that's such a beautiful way of putting it. So you've already encouraged our encouragers, Melissa, and we are so grateful for that. So many practical things, you guys. Check out our show notes to reflect on these questions so that you can take them away with you. Is there any other thing you would like to say to encourage our encouragers, Melissa?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, if you're an encourager, you're probably somebody that loves to see people, right? And you're like, you're doing a great job, right?
Yes.
I truly believe that if God were to be standing in front of you today, and I really want you to like tune into this, I truly believe God would say, you're doing a great job. And that he sees you. He sees you in your messy kitchen, sees you in front of the dishes. He sees you when you're vacuuming, or even when, you just don't feel like enough. And he just sees you and he delights in you. And I truly often have this picture of God with his chin in his hand, just like gazing down at creation. And he's so proud. He's so proud of his kids. And I just want to encourage you to lean into that voice, the one who truly likes who you are, who delights in the things that you delight in, that you think are silly and funny. Like, I love that, Rebecca. He laughs with us. And so I just want to encourage you to get seen by God today in whatever way. Sometimes for me, I will actually pray, Lord, would you just encourage me today? I just feel a little down. Would you encourage me? Yep. And it's wild how I'll suddenly get a text or someone will say something to me. And I know I'm like, thank you, Lord. And so just have like that intimate relationship with God where you don't have to be perfect or perform for him. You can just be real and honest and let God be God to you. That's what I would say.
Oh, that's amazing. Melissa, if we wanted to reach out and find out more about personal branding and doing it with the Kingdom perspective, where do I send everybody?
Yeah, you can send them over to, I'm on Instagram, so Melissa Lee Hughes, and that's L-E-A, Melissa Lee Hughes. I would love for you to send me a message there or an email at melissa@melissaleehughes.com. And I would love to give your listeners a free gift.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
3 steps to getting clarity on your brand message. And these questions, these 3 steps that you take are different from what I shared today, but they will be amazing journal prompts, like things that you'll have to really think about that will help you get massive clarity around who you are and what you're meant to do and how you're meant to show up in the world.
I can't wait. I'm going to do this and I'll be sharing it, guys. I'll do it as well. Even though I feel like I'm in my lane, it's always like, I'd love to just have the simple nudge to move that much more further into it. That's amazing. So we will link to that amazing free resource in our show notes here. And then also, if you're on our email list, it will be on the email the week the podcast comes out, you guys. So make sure to check it out and share with us on social media what you're getting clarity on, because that can just encourage all of us together. Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us today. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because he's got us. Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. And then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Ready to bring more organization and joy into your life? The Encourager Academy helps you harmonize your home and work life through our online course and coaching programs. Our 5-system approach, me, food, family, work, and home, tackles your biggest obstacles, offering lifetime access to video lessons and guided worksheets. Learn at your own pace with practical tools and strategies. Enroll now at encourageracademy.com and use code WeGotThis for $50 off. Are you ready to finally create systems that help you thrive in both home and work life? Join my 10-week coaching cohort designed for busy women like you. Together, we'll create customized, foolproof systems for managing your home, business, and personal life with joy and purpose. With live coaching, practical tools, and a supportive community, you'll leave feeling organized, confident, and in control. Don't wait. Spots are limited to 10 women. Visit encouragerpodcast.com to apply.
Hey friends, Nicole Eunice here from the How to Study the Bible podcast. I want to invite you to experience a fresh look at the story of Joseph and what it means for you today. Life can totally throw us for a loop, whether it's your family or your marriage, work, church, or something else entirely. Maybe you have found yourself in a season that you never would have expected and that you certainly wouldn't have signed up for. In this 6-week Bible study together, we're going to talk about the biblical story of Joseph, a man who lived an unexpected life and trusted God through it all. We'll talk about the blessings he experienced, the promises God keeps, the way that tests of our character can actually refine our faith. We'll talk about patience. We'll talk about loss, absolutely talk about redemption. So come join us for the 6-week series over on the How to Study the Bible podcast. Can't wait to dive in with you.